Reddit, what was the most awkward experience you've had in school? In primary school, me and a group of friends decided it would be funny to pee over the wall into somebody's back garden. After pee into this garden numerous amounts of times, we eventually got caught, and me being the startled child I was, just turned around with my wang out and proceeded to pee all over my female head teacher. To be fair, it's really hard to stop peeing once you start. Saw the girl I had a crush on. Act cool, act cool. She's standing with two cool douchebags. Bang, I've slipped on the ice right in front of them. The three pee themselves laughing while I awkwardly pick myself up and walk away. At least she asked if I was okay, through her laughter. 6th grade. I had a crush on this girl. It was my first crush. She was a cheerleader, cute, smart, funny. I was in love. Sadly it was not reciprocated. I used to write her love letters and slip them into her locker. One day this kid, who was pretty much my nemesis since elementary school, saw me put the note in, and after I walked away, he fished it out with a paper clip. Later he proceeded to read it to most of the 6th grade class before an assembly. I was absolutely humiliated for about 2 days, till everyone forgot about it. That's also the story of how I got into my first fight. For everyone interested, I did win the fight. I remember in 5th grade I was at the crosswalk doing patrol before school with my friend. I turned around and said, check this out, cause I thought I had a big fart coming. Turns out it wasn't a fart, it was a shot. The worst part? I was doing a presentation on Cal Ripken Jr. that day, so I had on white sliding shorts and white baseball pants. FML. Luckily I had a change of clothes, but quite a few people saw it. The good old gambled and lost. When I was in 5th grade I randomly tossed an old penny I found on the playground at school over my shoulder. Penny went over a handball backstop and into the mouth of the cutest girl in school. Said penny then contacted cutest girl's 2 front teeth and split them both in twain. She then looked like a Cajun airboat tour guide in a Louisiana bayou. I swear to Christ, I could throw handfuls of pennies at that chick's face from now until Ford Winsters became collectible and never have the same effect of ruining her looks that I did that day by pure chance. Elementary school was a difficult time after that. My physics teacher one day got a call early in the morning. The call only lasted for like 10 seconds, but when it ended, she ran out of the class all crying and never came back. A couple weeks later we were learning Newton's first law. For those who don't know, it states, an object will keep moving until a force stops it. As an example, our physics teacher used this. Imagine your aunt will be driving a car at 100 km per hour. At one point she will hit a tree. Even though the car will immediately stop, your aunt will still go flying into the tree at 100 km per hour. Once your aunt will hit the tree, not only her motion will stop, but so will her life. To start off, I was an avid drug user throughout high school. I was addicted to stimulant-based medications and would abuse them daily. One day I happened to be very upset because the school administration had taken me out of class to talk to me. It felt embarrassing. I felt it perpetuated rumors about my extracurricular activities. When I returned to class I was extremely upset and initially began to voice my concern out loud to one of my favorite teachers when she asked me an academically based question. Long story short, she said she was going to call someone for me to talk to because I was upset, and as she was about to call, I sneezed, and a giant mass of blue powder came out of my nose. I immediately wiped it away, but not before one of my other friends burst out laughing. The entire class saw, including my teacher. It was extremely intense. I'll start. When I was sitting in class, I randomly started coughing. It never stopped. Everyone was giving me the evil eye. The teacher asked me to be quiet. I asked if I could use the restroom and she sent me to the principal's office. My principal said that she'd talk to my teacher about it. The next day, I didn't see the teacher. The day after, my teacher was still not at school. We had a sub for the rest of the year. What happened to the teacher? I took a Viagra pill, had an erection in gym, walked around showing it off only wearing shorts just for shoots and giggles. Then the girls team came in, I tucked it really fast, but in such an uncomfortable way. It slipped back to batting form. Didn't notice until I hit a girl's leg with it and it hurt so freaking bad. I was standing and they were passing by jogging, so I crouched to hide it. Walked all over to the changing room crouching. Felt moist and hot under there. It's freaking blood. My scrotum was ripped slightly. I almost fainted. All the guys were laughing to this point, but thank God some of them had the courtesy to take it seriously. Even though they were laughing their asses off, they walked me to the nurse's room. I fainted over there. Still had a rocking hard erection. School, gym, Viagra. I think you have some splaining to do. In freshman year biology, I did a partner project on Down syndrome. We were presenting, and my project partner was talking about how people with Down syndrome can still live relatively normal productive lives, and often have jobs at grocery stores, as janitors. So I decided to chime in even as cafeteria workers know quite so bad, except for the fact that one of our cafeteria workers had Downs. There was a palpable feeling of, oh god, did he just say that? And my partner was too busy staring at me to help me out. I squeaked out a pathetic well, you know it's true, and stammered through the rest of the presentation. What's wrong with this exactly? Middle school was a really awkward time for me. In the county I grew up in, middle school was a mixture of the entire county. All the elementary schools get mixed up into one giant school, and then everyone gets divided into one of 4 teams. The team that I was sorted into had pretty much no one else from my elementary school, so I knew no one. I had barely any friends, and most of the kids in said team had grown up together and had decent friendships already. Gym class was also really awkward because we had to get changed for gym. This was the first time that I had ever had to change in front of other guys, so I held back and waited until everyone was gone, and then another 5 minutes before I finally changed. I realized that I was super late to gym at that point, so I made a mad dash for the gym room, but they had told us that they would divide the gym class up by boys and girls, so I wasn't sure if that would take place immediately, or if they would give us an orientation first and then divide us. I opened the door to the gym room, and all I see on the bleachers are girls. I'm absolutely terrified at this point, thinking I got the wrong room. I very sheepishly asked the gym coach, are there any boys in here? The way I phrased it just made it sound so wrong. At that moment, to my horror, the gym coach points to the other side of the bleacher where I now see a ton of my classmates. The gym coach looks at me and says, over there, all the boys you want, which caused the whole room to erupt in laughter. That was easily my most awkward school experience. I suddenly had a dry throat as I signed off a speech in front of my school. My surname, Cook, turned into something resembling yours sincerely, Cough Don Cough. Yeah, that was pretty awkward. Grade 9. First week. Had to do a short speech on our childhood heroes. Didn't do it, so I tried to wing it. Confused Robert Mugabe for Nelson Mandela. The first words my teacher heard out of my mouth were, my hero is Robert Mugabe because he freed the people of Africa. We were in a computer lab, and the teacher was too focused on her computer to see my hand raised and asking her to use the restroom. So I pee all over the seat. No regrets. I just let it all go. I was proud when I stood up and I saw the puddle that I had left. Later that day, in line going to recess, a girl behind me said, do you smell something weird? It smells like my dog. I denied it all, but I knew what she was smelling. Pee my pants in elementary school. On backwards day, I might have made it if my pants weren't the wrong way around. Took me 10 minutes to get the zipper open. Told my friend I wanted to bang the student teacher. He walks in the class and yells, Anthony wants to frick the student teacher. Class act. In college, I am a little forgetful and don't remember people in a large classroom unless I engage with them. So one day I am late to class and frazzled, and I walk in and don't recognize anyone and say I think I'm in the wrong classroom. My class laughs and says, no, you're not, just sit down. I was quite embarrassed. At least you weren't the one who had to leave from the front row during a pause in the lecture, like 10 minutes after the prof started, because you were in the wrong class. But that was a bad day for me. Okay, so there was this cheerleader. She was like really flirty with me for several days, and I finally got her number. Every time I would text her, she would never know who I was, until this one time when I was on a camp out and my friends prank called her like 8 times from my phone. They said, do you like Imagine Dragons? Because Imagine Dragon my dong across your face. She still won't even talk to me anymore. Whoa, your friends are supposed to be wingmen, not cockblokers. First year of secondary school. Getting changed after a PE lesson and the fire alarm goes off. Teacher comes charging into the changing room telling everyone to get the heck out in whatever state we are in. This would have been fine if I wasn't currently wearing my boxers and my school shirt and jumper. So 11-year-old me is standing in the playground with a third of the school laughing at me in just boxers and a jumper. I thought people had forgotten about it until I looked in the yearbook and about 6 people put that moment as their best school moment. 7th grade. While I was waiting for the bus with my friends, I tried to let out a fart. Unfortunately, it was actually a shart, and I let out a pretty decent amount of liquid crap. All my friends knew almost right away, and started cracking up. I figured that I could run home and change before the bus came. Just as I started hobbling towards my house, the bus arrived. I was an idiot, and decided to get on the bus, figuring that I could just get rid of my underwear once I got to school. The bus ride was heck. After the longest 10 minutes of my life, with everyone laughing their asses off at me, the bus stopped in front of the school. During the few minutes in which it was stopped, a couple kids were freaking around and threw one dude's poster out the window. Some kids started spitting on the poster, and the bus driver flipped out. He stormed off into the school and brought the principal onto the bus. The principal ended up yelling at us for an hour about how we're all a bunch of crazy misfits and how we're all going to get a week of detentions. As he's raging at us, I'm just sitting there grimacing in the discomfort of wearing shart-stained pants. Towards the end, he noticed the smell and remarked, "What smells so bad?" Everyone started cracking up at this point, which made the principal even angrier. He gave everyone another week of detentions, which got some people pissed at me. After over an hour of sitting on a bus with my pants soaked in crap, I finally managed to make it to the locker room, with many awkward glances along the way. Thankfully, the showers were all unused. I threw my underwear and pants away, and changed into my dirty gym shorts. The feeling of wearing filthy gym clothes after 2 hours of sitting in crap is a pleasure that nothing can ever really compare to. TLDR. Don't freaking gamble with a fart, ever. So this was junior year of high school and it was prom time. I didn't have anyone to ask, so I asked the school S. Perfect. So everything went fine and then we find ourselves at the after party. I am drunk. We are talking outside and all of a sudden she just grabs my shirt collar and we're going at it. We suddenly find ourselves in the pool house disrobing. I'm in for roughly 2 minutes when suddenly everything goes limp on me. Mother sucker. He ain't coming back. Now while she swore she wasn't going to tell anyone, and that it was totally fine, I knew that was a complete lie. This girl can be a huge C. So yeah, we go back inside. I pass out and I can already hear her telling all of her friends what just happened. So skip to end of the year party. There's probably 200 kids there, and this party was at a large house where everyone partied in one giant room. I was outside smoking a cigarette when someone came outside to tell me to take my time coming back inside. I was like, okay, I will do that, weird. So I kind of forgot about that warning and walked back inside, and all of a sudden everyone stopped, looked at me, and started yelling limp dong, limp dong, limp dong. I froze. I had no idea what to do, so I just owned it and started jumping up and down while yelling at myself. It wasn't that bad. It was all in good fun, but those first few seconds were haunting. I was one of the first to get boobs. In 2nd grade, little perv felt up my grapes in the lunch line. Yes, in 2nd grade, but like I said, they were grapes and I just needed a training bra. It's okay, he probably has his own boobs now. It was my sophomore year picture day and I always, without fail, would mix up the auditorium and gymnasium. Because of how many students attended our school, we were called down to the auditorium to get our pictures taken in alphabetic order of our last names. Since no one in my class had a last name near mine, I walked down to get my picture alone and of course, headed to the gymnasium. I don't know why I didn't get the hint that it wasn't in the gym by the total of 0 people waiting outside, but as I walked in, a whole bleacher full of boys swiveled their head to look at me and shouted, "What are you doing here?" You don't have a dong. I got so flustered and awkward that I turned to leave and ran face first into the door, giving myself a nosebleed and prompting me to do a shame walk to the nearest bathroom. TLDR. Walked into an all-boys gym class, got flustered because I was lost and ran into the door giving myself a nosebleed. In my high school we had different tracks of math, and in the advanced group there was only enough students for one class each year. So I basically did 5 years of math with the same 22ish kids from 8th grade. We started algebra 1 in middle school to 12th. So in my junior year the girls who were all friends and clique Y were talking about boys that they thought were cute. Apparently no one remembered or cared about the fact that I was in the classroom because someone mentioned me. One girl said she thought I was really hot and then all the other girls laughed at her. I spent the rest of junior and all of senior year thinking I was just about ugly as frick. It turns out they were just laughing for some other reason because I was told by one of them about a month before I got out of high school that they all thought I was cute. No one freaking told me that. I'm still confused about what happened in my high school years. Was feeling a bit nauseous at school. I should have avoided eating anything, but grilled cheese and tomato soup was too enticing to pass up. 5 minutes later, I stand up and projectile vomit enough tomato soup to turn our cafeteria into a murder scene. At my graduation ball, security caught me rolling a joint on the toilet and marched me to the table that had my entire proud family seated around it to confess to them what I had just done. I had this foreboding that the whole school would know and dreaded the upcoming Monday, but there was nothing that would have prepared me for the amount of whispering and pointing that set in as soon as I stepped through the school doors. I tried finding my friends to assess the level of damage that had been done, but before I could manage to do so, I was whisked off to the principal's office, who kept asking me to admit it in a dramatic voice but refused to tell me what it even was. At least, this got me out of class for 2 hours. After which he had to let me go as I kept refusing to admit to anything. Schools are not allowed to do drug screenings on their students in my country, in case you're wondering. When I came out of his office, there was a whole bunch of people loitering around there, all trying very hard to avoid my gaze as I walked past. In the beginner yard, the music teacher I had last been taught by 4 years ago grasped my hands, asked me to please get help and quit this life, then handed me some brochure. The whole thing just kept getting more and more awkward. I was feeling horrible by now, and still had no clue what was going on. When I finally managed to find my friends, they weren't in the same grade, so it took some searching. They told me that apparently I was a drug dealer and had been caught trying to sell a kilo of weed at the ball, as well as trying to put LSD in the water supply of the venue, stupid to the max. But people seemed to believe it. The whole thing thankfully got eclipsed by the stress of preparing for and actually passing the graduation and end of year tests, but for a while, I got asked for drugs so often it really wasn't funny anymore. Some deadbeat potheads suddenly thought I was one of them and wanted me to go smoke with them all the time and hook them up. Something I definitely didn't want, as I had seen a few of my friends become pot zombies by that point. Many people didn't even want to be seen talking to me for fear of the image that would project. It's a funny episode in retrospect, but when it happened, it was kinda scary to see how easily people believe any kind of crap and just go with it without even thinking twice, and how opinions are shaped. When I was a freshman in high school, I was heading to my locker on a very large high school campus and I gambled with a fart. I lost. I lost in the most extreme way possible, as a liquid torrent of chunky fesses rolled into my pants and down my left leg. I stood, stunned, in a hallway filled with students as I realized my life was over. I walked, knees locked rigid so as to minimize locomotion in my pants, to the bank of payphones and waited with horror as I waited for one to become available. Finally, after an agonizing minute, I scooted up, slid in a quarter, called my mom and said simply, I need a clean pair of pants, underwear, socks, and a jumbo plastic bag as soon as you can possibly make it happen, and hung up as soon as she assented. I then continued my penguin shuffle towards the nurse's office, but as I passed a girl I had a massive crush on, she called out to me, waved, and asked how I was. My face went crimson. I said I had to run, and moved along to the nurse's office. I got to the office, burst past the nurse saying simply, I need your bathroom for a bit. My mom will be here soon. Shut the door. and I stared somewhat shell-shocked at the door. After 20 minutes, there was a knock at the door. I opened the door slightly. My mom slid in a plastic bag filled with clothes, a jumbo freezer Ziploc bag, and a container of moist wipes. I thanked her profusely and got to work. I put my soiled pants and underwear and socks in the bag, put on the new underwear, shorts, and socks she'd brought me, and was triumphant that the great pants crapping incident of 2007 had gone unnoticed. I handed the bag back to my mom and confidently strode out of the nurse's office. My grin faltered as I stepped outside and saw the girl from before sitting outside. She looked up and said, "Are you okay? I was really worried when you ran away like that. Hey, weren't you wearing pants before?" In middle school, going through puberty and all, I had my period during class. Of course I just sat there until break. When break finally came around, I went to the washroom to clean myself off and then come with some supplies to clean my seat because I wouldn't be in that classroom for the next period, and I didn't want someone else to clean my mess. Little did I know, a bunch of guys were around that seat, not from my class, all grossed out and all. Here I just come walking in, cleaned the seat as quickly as I could and then left. The silence of them watching me clean the seat and the uproar of laughter that happened when I left. I just wanted the seat to be nice and clean to whoever was sitting there next. Me and some others found it funny, but I took ROTC in high school and after 2 years I basically just sat in a small office during class until PT on Friday. The officer cadets always use the office to change since it was easier and faster. After PT one day I went in early since I had to do something else. Started changing. A girl who technically wasn't allowed to change in there but we let her anyway since we were friends accidentally walked in on me half naked. She made it halfway in before we both simultaneously noticed each other and she bolted out apologizing. I made a joke about it and she just seemed embarrassed and apologized all day. Kindergarten. Got angry that someone took my toy so I went on a rampage and hit the crap out of a ton of kids with a chair. I got expelled. When I was in grade 10 a kid I kinda knew at the time offered to sell me coke at school. I'm not a big drug user and I don't know what I was thinking, maybe like cola or something for some reason. I follow him to the bathroom and he pulls out a big bag of powder. Here comes the awkward part. A lanky guy comes out a stall, sees me and this kid with powder. Unbreaking eye contact. No words at all, he just nopes the frick out of there. Didn't even wash his hands, absolutely disgusting. Being voted the ugliest kid in school by the popular girls in my class. Embarrassing for me. The awkward part was the vicious no-holds-barred tirade I unleashed on them, which reduced one girl to tears and a whole bunch of other students not sure what to do. The whole remainder of the class was fricked up. I guess they just expected me to sit there and take it, frick them. Probably crapping myself in gym class. On the one hand, not many people have taken running shoots before, so I guess that makes me special. I walked into class, and my benchmate handed me a card, completely handmade. Opened it to find this. "You are Pikachu. I choose you. I'm your TGP. Pre. He crap his pants later in the day, and told me so looking straight in the eyes. Never forgetting that day. This happened my sophomore year. I was going to the bathroom after school had ended. Get it all out of my system before drumline practice. My school is cheap so our men's restrooms lacked the all-important dividers between urinals. As I walked in, I saw that the bathroom was full and there was only one urinal available, right next to another guy from drumline. As I unzipped, I chuckled. I don't know why. I never will. Then he chuckled. We made eye contact while peeing. Yes, and burst out laughing for about 30 seconds. Then we zipped up, washed our hands, and never spoke of it again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.